Hey, Jason Starr here, back with another writing tip video. I'm doing this one outside in sunny New York City. And a quick reminder, please remember to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Just click the subscribe button. I'm trying to update this channel pretty regularly now, so you'll be notified of my new content when I put it up. And also remember to like the video if you like it, and share the videos on social media and help get the word out. Also have some links on the bottom to some of my new publications, including a new book of story called OUTLAWED INK that was just published. I have a new book out in German. I have a new novel I just completed, and there'll be news on that soon. So check out jasonstarr.com for more on that. Okay, this video is about is a question from a subscriber about how do you think COVID will affect the writing business. And this is a question that I've given a lot of thought to, and I've seen a lot of discussion about it on social media, so I'm glad I have a chance to address this. Okay, from a creative standpoint, I think COVID is going to change things dramatically, and it's something you have to make a decision about how to deal with it depending on what you're working on. So whether you're working on a novel, a screenplay, a comic, whatever it is, and let's say you're setting a book either right now in the moment or anytime after spring, summer 2020, and if it's set in the realistic world, if you're writing about today and you have references today and it's important to your story that it's very current, I think you have to deal with the pandemic in some way. Now, it wouldn't be realistic to have people going shopping at a supermarket in the summer 2020 if you didn't show them wearing masks and it wasn't in the backdrop. I'm not saying you necessarily have to make a huge point about it. You don't want to necessarily detract from your story, but you would need to get the right details in there in order for it to seem realistic. Now, if you're setting, obviously if you're writing a fantasy novel or you're setting your book in the past, that's always a way to avoid these sorts of issues. If you're setting your book in the past, then obviously you don't have to deal with it. I think unconsciously some attitudes that have changed because of COVID might seep into your writing, even if you're writing an historical novel, for example. But just from a very literal writing, creative standpoint, you wouldn't have to deal with it, obviously, head on. I was thinking about, in answering this question, I was also thinking about 9/11, for example, and about how the world changed suddenly after that, and how similarly, if you're going to set a book after September 11th, 2001, and you didn't necessarily have to mention 9/11 if your book didn't have to deal with that. But if you had somebody go to an airport and there wasn't the right airport security, or someone was getting on a plane and there weren't locks on the cockpit doors, that would seem unrealistic in a book that's taking place after September 11th, 2001. And similarly, like if you're going to set a book in the present day, and characters are going to walk around without masks, or there's not going to be the social distancing that's going on now, then it would seem unrealistic. Now, again, like I don't want to say that you have to deal with this issue head on, and this is always very situational. It depends on what you're working on. So it requires some thought about what you're working on. Is it important to, let's say, if you're setting a book now, to get really into the specifics of what's going on? If you're writing some sort of medical drama or something something that's set at a hospital, something where you really have to deal with it head on, then I would say do it. If you're writing just like a thriller that's not in necessarily an urban area, a populated area, and it's psychological, it's about the characters, I don't think you necessarily have to deal with it very specifically, if at all. I'm not even saying you have to mention the word COVID, but I think in the attitude of the characters and how they've changed because of everything that's happened in the world, I think you'd have to address that in some way in order for it to seem realistic if you're writing a realistic novel in this world. So yeah, so I do think this is an issue that's situational. It depends on what you're working on. And in another video, I'll talk about how I think COVID is going to affect the writing industry in general. This is about the creative concerns that come up. So again, this is Jason Starr. Check out my new books, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll be back soon.